I don't want to go too in depth on Memphis trading Steven Adams to Houston for 3 second-round picks, but just a couple of thoughts.
Sure.
I mean, we had written about it that the Rockets have been looking at various types of upgrades of Victor Oladipo's salary, and I ended up not choosing this path before the trade even went down, but in thinking about how to write potential article, maybe I'm giving something away to the competitors. I was thinking about writing something, and maybe I'll do this sometime next week, of like things we know will happen. Because there's a ton of, this team's looking at this guy and this guy's up for sale and here's the price. But a lot of those things just won't get done. Like
Right.
I always say about if we're looking at this through the lens of elementary school quizzes, like the trade deadline is column A and column B, where there are some extras along the way. You'll end up drawing some lines, but there aren't going to be every single thing on the left and every single thing on the right connected versus like the draft. There's 1 through 60, man. Someone's getting picked at every slot. So Victor Oladipo was 100% going to get traded because the Rockets already traded 2 second-round picks plus Kevin Porter Jr.'s salary to get Oladipo's salary to do something else with it. Originally, it seemed like the Rockets were trying to get help for this year because Ime Udoka's in. The defense is bruising and defending and locking down all comers. And they have many reasons to try to actually make the play-in tournament and advance this rebuild a real step further ahead from just like 3 years of kind of chasing their own tail and running in mud. So when it first came out and we had talked about them looking at Robert Williams in Portland, where he, of course, has a connection to Ime Udoka and a lot of the Celtics coaches that former Celtics coaches that Ime Udoka brought with him down to Houston. So that from that through line, getting Steven Adams, who I think is arguably better than Robert Williams, while out for the year, has much less of a daunting injury history. Like, totally get it. He's going to be very helpful for them next season. I just was a little surprised that this happened now. This seems like a deal that a lot of people around the league would have thought could happen at 2:57 p.m. Eastern time, because Memphis is definitely I don't know how much they will continue to be looking to find more financial flexibility moving forward for this offseason and free agency and the draft, being that, I mean, when Marc Gasol and Mike Conley got hurt, like flashing back when, the Grizzlies have always been very opportunistic. They're not celebrating what's happening, but I think they've been very opportunistic and like aggressive in figuring out ways how to make lemons out of this, or make lemonade out of the lemons that they've been dealt here. They figured out some stuff with Vince Williams, as you talked about, on Devine Intervention, which I'm sure I'll get the invite at some point.
It's for sure coming.
And yeah, I just think that, I mean, Jock Landale and Oladipo's salary together would have allowed Houston to go bigger game hunting. And like, if you think this might be an indictment on Jock Landale, like, I will say, yeah, there has not been a lot of excitement about what his contributions have been to the Rockets frontcourt after giving him a very creative 4-year, $32 million deal that is super non-guaranteed. So look, there's like opportunity for them, just like with Evan Fournier's salary in New York, to pick up options moving forward and have it continue to be an expiring contract that can have non-guaranteed stuff in the future. I haven't made any calls yet directly about this. I'm wondering if this means like the Rockets are done or if they're going to continue to keep looking at other things. Because Memphis, I think, still will be open to doing things. I wrote about it today. Xavier Tillman might have a wider market than any other player in the NBA right now, just being that let's just think about the mathematics of it all. He's very serviceable, and I think his representation, he's with Mark Bartelstein and Priority Sports, one of the most highly regarded agencies in the league. I don't think they're pounding the table trying to get Xavier Tillman Jakob Poeltl money. I think he's extension eligible right now. So to get like, for a team that's not going to have cap space next summer, to acquire him now as a real rotation piece moving forward for maybe, I mean, just pulling a number, like the most closest analog I would expect to be like a comparison for what his contract would be is what Nick Richards' deal is like in Charlotte, that 3-year, 15, maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I have no idea what the numbers are supposed to be, but it's not going to be pushing mid-level type salary that, the elite backup big men tend to, the Isaiah Hartenstein, 11 million, whatever he makes in that range. So I don't know if Memphis is done. However, like Marcus Smart, I've been told emphatically not available, despite, I left his name out of the first article we wrote about Milwaukee and the Adrian Griffin stuff, just because I hadn't really dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's about it. But Marcus Smart, you can throw him on the list of players that Milwaukee was trying to see what their 35th pick, Pat Connaughton campaign, Bobby Portis package could ultimately get. The Lakers definitely checked on Marcus Smart it would be really interesting to see him and LeBron play on the same team after all those years, which has been a whole story that I definitely wrote for Sports Illustrated years ago about LeBron always adopting former playoff rivals into his teams. So, but yeah, Marcus Smart, I've been told pretty definitively he is not for sale. So that's my quick breakdown there. Dan, anything from you?
Just you and I spoke last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, about if you want the thing to happen, go make the thing happen. You don't necessarily need to try to maximize the value on it by waiting longer to, get your guy or get the deal done that puts you in the position you want to get into. For Memphis doing it now, this sheds a bunch of money off their books for next year. They were already going to be well over the luxury tax line, flirting with the second apron. Moving off of Adams now gives them some breathing room, gives them an opportunity to kind of figure out, all right, do we want to keep Luke Kennard around, or do we want to see if we can move him for something? Do we want to waive? Now we have Victor Oladipo expiring money. Do we want to waive him now so we can convert Gigi Jackson to a full, a full contract as opposed to a two-way? Gives them more flexibility to decide what they want to do. And it doesn't surprise me that they are not entertaining Smart anymore, because they really didn't get a chance to see what the team that they thought they were going to build would look like. And so now you get to go into next year and say, all right, the core is Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart. We bring, get a hopefully healthy Brandon Clark back next year. You bring Vince Williams in, and whatever you're going to get out of your hopefully like mid to high lottery pick. And that's what we're starting with. And then we have a little bit of financial flexibility, including the big $12.6 million trade exception they get from this, because they send out, they're able to slide Oladipo's money into the disabled player exception that they got for Ja Morant. And so they don't take any money back in effect, which then creates a big traded player exception for the money that they get off of for Adams. So now you can go hunting for, like you said, mid-level exception money type help, another rotation player that would cost $11-12 million. And, then you're putting together more of like a top 7, top 8 that could then go back and try to compete for the top of the West again. So makes sense to me that this is sort of where Memphis is rearranging its deck chairs. As far as the Houston side of it, I think that since they got Ime Udoka, the goal has been, let's get grownups in here who play defense and are like badasses. Let's get Fred VanVleet. Let's get Dylan Brooks. Let's get a hard-nosed, respected vet, Jeff Green. Let's try to get these guys that are tough and that are NBA grown-ups. And Steven Adams has been on really good teams that have competed at really high levels for a really long time, and he does not care about his own stuff at all. Like, I will box out. I will create the runway for you to go grab the rebound. I will attack the offensive glass like crazy, which is something Udoka's team in Boston, that one year there, they were like a top 10 offensive rebounding team. And this Houston team is not that. So I wonder if that's a component, like part of the identity we want to bring there.
And the Rockets,
and just like,
not to interrupt you, but obviously I'm interrupting you. The Rockets definitely have discussed the idea of like, oh, could we put Alpi next to a center who's more of a defensive hub, does that dirty work stuff like you're saying, like they did with Robert Williams and Al Horford playing together in Boston, and as they're still doing with Porzingis and Al and Luke Cornett. So I think they could play together. I think they could do opposite, lineup things to anchor each thing. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity to utilize both.
Yeah. So the sunny side up version of this, the optimistic version of it, is Adams comes back fully healthy and is able to have that kind of impact next to Şengün, behind Şengün, whatever. and he is a rising tide kind of player, like doesn't need very much, but has a big impact and could really help the guards with the way he sets screens, all that stuff. The downside, or the con version of this, the glass half empty side, is it doesn't work out. He's an expiring contract next year. That helps us again, as Memphis is clearing up its books, figuring out what it needs to do. You're going to have Şengün and Jalen Green extension eligible. You got Tari Eason extension eligible the year after that. I think Jabari Smith Jr. also extension eligible this summer. Fred VanVleet's got a huge player club option in 2 years. So like the bills are going to start coming due for this Houston rebuild pretty soon. So moving off of an extra $12, $13 million might help you figure out how to maneuver things around as the Rockets try to continue to build something competitive. So like it seems like a low risk, potential high reward deal on both sides of it. And maybe that's about all that we need to say about it.